All right. Well, Box of Awesome is cool, like I said, but let's go back to the match, I guess, that we both wanted to see the most: MJF versus Will Ospreay.
Well, that's why, let me tell you what I did. I cheated. Because when I saw that MJF and Ospreay was coming up next, I said, you know what? After I watch that, because that's really the one I want to see, then it's really going to be drudgery from here on out. So I deliberately fast-forwarded past this match to begin with, watched everything else, and watched this last so I wouldn't go home pissed off, as they say. And you know what? I made a mistake. I should have saved Swerve and Danielson for last. Because there was some element of pissed offness here that I got in this one. But nevertheless, would you like to... Can you tell me what the fuck is going on? Is Will Ospreay a break-dancing ninja? Is he a British Secret Service man like James Bond? Is the African drum music? There were people spinning on their heads. What the well, that's what I don't know how this all tied into his fucking gimmick.
Apparently, Tony heard our segments on Ray Gun and was inspired to bring some dancers. No, they were very talented breakdancers. That woman who looked like Ivy Nile was doing a great job.
Well, yeah, and that's who I thought it was. She had hopped sides and switched organizations because I thought it was one of the WWF girls there.
Yeah, and then apparently they got a sponsorship deal with Assassin's Creed, which is a major video game line. They have a series of games.
Okay, well, they did not relay that information ahead of time.
No, they presume you would know that, yes.
Well, they presume wrong, because I'm sitting there watching it. They say MJF and Ospreay is next. They got the history package between them. And then suddenly, here's drum music and breakdancing ninjas. They're in the black outfits, and they're flipping about, and they're spinning, and there's 5 of them, but the Ivy Now girl was in the middle. She's the one that spun on her head, but only after she put a hat on. I'm thinking it was a gimmick hat. She didn't do that bareheaded.
That's probably smart. You'd rip your hair out.
Well, it means she was cheating. There's some type of apparatus in the hat, possibly a motor, a propeller.
Oh, come on. You think any kind of hat on your head while you're trying to spin on your head is cheating?
Well, if you're going to spin on your head, then you got to go all the way with it, or elsewise you're just showing off. And then suddenly the lights went out, and then there was a video, and a guy with a Hispanic accent. Now we've had the ninjas, which is from the Far East. We've had the breakdancing, which is from Poughkeepsie. I don't fucking know. We got the drum music sound like a Tarzan movie. Now a guy with a Hispanic accent introduced himself with what was that name? Did you catch that name, Brian?
What name? What are you talking about?
The guy that was narrating the video said, my name is blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no, I did not catch his name. I didn't even realize he said his name.
Because he threw it like fucking Catfish Hunter at 100 miles an hour. And then they had a video of Will Ospreay on independent shows mixed in with video that looked like it came from the tourist office of the country of Japan with some samurais. And then somebody dove off a fucking roof. And I'm like, what the hell? And the voiceover guy gave him a pep talk about being an assassin because we're assassins and whatever the fuck. And then suddenly when they come back, there are banners on the stage. And then is when you're able to, they start doing the sales pitch and you realize this shit is from a video game. And they've got banners on sale whenever the assassins are us. I don't know. But they've proven they can't sell video games. Did somebody pay them to try to sell video games?
You know, it's funny. I didn't even think of it that way. Yes, apparently they were paid for the sponsorship, and apparently it also ties back to Will Ospreay's nickname. The aerial assassin. I believe he said, I could be wrong, that he took that originally because of the Assassin's Creed games.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, they had fun there, and then they played Ospreay's music, and then he made his entrance, and he's over with the crowd, as we have mentioned. And Then came MJF. He had 10 girls out there waving American flags, and he was dressed like James Brown in the Living in America video. Ha! I feel good. So...
Or like Weird Al in the Living with a Hernia video.
That's true. That's true. And it may be more like, I'm not sure they successfully got the folks in the United Kingdom to turn on America any more than they already naturally were with just the way we really act. But I wanted this again. I wanted to see the match because this was not only the MJF's the biggest star. Ospreay is the only one of the new signings that you could say make a case for being worth his money because people really do fucking like him. But I think the problem with this was instead of being an MJF match with a little Ospreay, it was an Ospreay match with a little MJF. And that's why they had me, and then they started losing me, and they lost me more as they went along. Do you know what my problem was? Can you see it coming a mile away?
I think I can. MJF is showing too much ass.
No.
Oh.
I'm all in favor of seeing more of MJF's gluteus maximi.
Oh.
He's worked him into excellent shape. You could bounce a quarter off of him like you're fucking making a bed in a barracks in the army.
Well, this took a turn.
But no, it's a video game. This match was a video game. I could, because I started taking notes about, well, MJF got heat with this, and nice sequence where MJF was being a heel and Ospreay flipped over and around him. Very babyface-ish. They're young athletes. They're in great shape, nice gear. They look like somebody. The work at least doesn't look phony or awkward in terms of its execution, like a lot of people on the rest of the show. But then MJF catches Ospreay on one of his dives over the top rope and tombstones him on the floor. And then MJF said, well, anybody can do a flip, and he does a backflip off the springboard backflip off the top rope so that Ospreay can move and MJF can land on his feet and charge, and Ospreay can give him a Spanish fly on the floor. So not only did Ospreay just fucking give somebody a Spanish fly on the floor 30 seconds after he was tombstone pile driven on the floor, but there's MJF doing springboard backflips off the top, landing on his feet on the ground, even if he did do it and can do it, risking injury for what for? What fucking for was that? But then the point is, everything, MJF shit looks good. But seconds after he does a devastating thing, Ospreay is just flipping around again. He goes from zero to hero faster than anybody I've ever seen. That shit used to be shot down in the first weeks of wrestling school class. But between that and Ospreay, the turning the back on the opponent and making the concentration face and taking the high diver pose and pointing to the rope and then running to it. One time he turned his back, MJF grabbed him by the hair and yanked him down. But it's so performative. It's so fake. He believes he's a video game character. The problem with a lot of this generation is they think they should be video game characters. They're trying to be video game characters rather than believing that they're so good, a video game should be made out of them. And so MJF hits a wicked pile driver, and Ospreay is Lords a leaping in 15 seconds. MJF hits a fucking Panama sunrise on the apron of the ring. And yet Ospreay milks the fucking count to 9.5 and then rolls in, but within, again, seconds or whatever, he's doing the Cody Cutter on the apron. It's just that it's a video game. You can't have sympathy for the baby face when the heel's getting heat on him because nothing hurts him. And you can't lose yourself in the drama of the thing because there is no drama. These are not real people. It's a fictitious video game. And Ospreay, he has all the talent in the world. If somebody would produce him, he would be great. Don't turn your back on goddamn your opponent when you're a foot away from him. Don't goddamn get tombstone pile driven and be up doing cartwheels in 32 seconds. That type of thing. But nobody is. He's been in the Indies and been in Japan where you learn nothing applicable to this. And nobody is trying to sit him down and say, hey, you still have to learn what you got to do for this market. And it's just blah. For these fans, especially in Wembley, you can do this. But this is what he avoided by going to the WWE, anybody in a structured system trying to smarten him up. And, you know, that's a thing. And then they do the spot. Ospreay does the elbow off the apron and MJF ducks, so Ospreay takes out the cameraman. Then MJF grabs a title belt and hits him with the title belt and gets a 2 count. And in a brainbuster, it gets a 2 count. And then they knock the MJF into the referee, who takes a nice bump. But while the referee's down, MJF goes for the Tiger Driver. And Ospreay escapes, and he's going to hook him up for it, and MJF gives him the nut shot. And then MJF pulls out the taped knucks out of his tights because we've already had a title belt and we've already had the pile drivers on the floor. Now we've got more. And the ring was stolen, apparently. Did you see the tweet on this, Brian?
No, I don't even know what you're talking about. No.
He used knucks instead of the Dynamite Diamond ring because he tweeted earlier in the day, or I guess it was earlier in the day in Wembley, what a shitty country, the Dynamite Diamond ring has been stolen. So do you think, did somebody steal his entire bag? I can't imagine they took it off his hand.
Well, that's the question. Does that mean someone went into his room when he wasn't there? Did someone go through his bag?
What was his bag taken at the airport? Or what, you know?
Was it at the building? Was it one of the wrestlers? Where was Dick Steinborn?
Oh, he was immediately lurking around the locker room area.
Famous locker room thief, for anyone wondering why I'm saying that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. He had good stories, though.
You know what they always used to do if somebody got the reputation, they thought he was the one, he was Watch Your Poke, like Dick Watch Your Poke Steinborn. If they got the impression that it was that guy that was doing it, everybody on the card would start saying before they went to the ring, hey, can you hold my wallet for me? Because then what's the guy going to fucking do, right? Yeah. Of course, it was a subtle way of saying, we know what the fuck's been going on and we're keeping an eye on you. But yeah, somebody's been going in bags and stealing stuff. So the guy you suspect, let him be the one you say, hey, hold my wallet while I go to the ring. What's he going to do? You come back 15 minutes later, son of a bitch, they picked my pocket. Anyway, so MJF pulls out the knucks and he draws back, and another masked ninja grabs his hand and nails him and unmasks, and it's Danny Garcia. And he stands there with all the personality that he doesn't have, with that blank look on his face. And MJF is distracted, and then he turns around and Ospreay hits him with the elbow and then hooks him and hits him with the Tiger Driver, and the referee recovered 1, 2, 3. And that Tiger Driver, MJF landed okay. I would term that as okay. I can see what he did there. But there's not much that the guy taking that can control, because a good percentage of it is up to the guy putting you in the trajectory you're going. And I wouldn't trust this guy, this move, or again, MJF risk his risk his certain WWE future for this horse shit. You know, is he or is he not going to drop him on his head and make the smart fans believe it really hurt? What about you?
I'm not a fan of the move because I'm not a fan of things that look like they could cause a serious neck injury. But they built it up. Now, I said that it didn't get a reaction last week on Dynamite. It got the reaction here.
Yeah.
So it got the reaction. Daniel Garcia did too. We'll see where they go with it. But for this night, those two things, the revelation of Daniel Garcia and the Tiger Driver, both got big pops. MJF didn't just take it, and it looked rough. Even if you say you saw what he did, it looked like it hurt. And then he was
I'm not saying it was comfortable.
And then he was rolled up in that position, and then the referee took a while to get there, and then it was a slow count. So he was stuck like that for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. That couldn't have been easy.
Well, once you've landed and you can still feel your extremities, you got about 10 seconds of, thank God that's over. So he could get by with it. But yeah, too much Ospreay, not enough MJF, in my opinion. And of course, then Ospreay turned down the American Championship belt, and Chris Daniels came out to give him the old international title, because that's what it's back to being called. It's international. It's the world over. England, United States, Liechtenstein, everywhere.
You know, whatever you want to say, I thought it was the best match on the show.
Well, no, I
like the finish. I like the finish of the Danielson, but in terms of the entirety of the match, what I enjoyed, not saying it was a perfect match or anything, I enjoyed that one more than any other match.
Well, Danielson came through. We'll talk about it in a second because we're not quite there yet. But if it had been anybody else but Bryan Danielson in that spot, yes, and I would agree with you, MJF and Ospreay. But there's something that Danielson has with these people and that he can do that if anybody else had the same kind of match or tried to do the same kind of stuff, it would stink. Does that make sense?
It does. It's his reputation.
Well, that's what he was doing.
It's his reputation and his body of work. That's what it is. They kind of know who he is, and there's enough there that you know what to get behind and whatnot. But anyway, let's not.
But he's doing well. We'll come back to it.